Hey everybody, it's spooky motherfucking time. I'm Matt and I'm here along with...
It's spooktacular there, Ben.
Oh, for fuck's fuck, Ben. Oh, for fuck's Ben. We were just doing a mayor off before we started recording, just listening to audio levels, making sure everything's good. So we were just both being the mayor. Maybe we will release that one day. I don't know. I mean, it's been recorded.
Continuing the gag, Ben.
It's really fucking stupid, Ben. But I love it so much. So anyway, point is that we are talking about... I'm Matt, and I'm here along with...
Tristan.
And today we're talking about Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. Now, this is interesting because it would have been a spooky Saturday and an Anna Saturday, but, I mean, the 31st of Halloween comes up on a Monday.
On a Monday.
So,
Boom.
That's when this comes out.
The truly scariest part of the season. Halloween's on a Monday this year.
Just a Monday.
Yeah.
The scariest time of the year, a Monday. Yep. So, yeah, very, very sorry about that to everyone who is listening to this on a Monday.
But that's okay. You can listen to us and make your Monday a little better.
I say you can, because we're talking about Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, which I know I already mentioned it, but you gotta mention it twice, because there was some spins in this movie, there was some twists and some turns, some that I didn't expect when I was 7, because that's when this movie came out, in 1999. I was 7.
Yeah.
As were you, Ben.
Oh, yes, great year, Ben.
No, but really, though, we were both around the same age, so did you catch this when it actually came out, like, when it was first either airing or just being put out on VHS?
I'm pretty sure, yeah, because I had it on VHS.
I could swear that I did, and if I didn't, then we definitely rented it from Blockbuster, because I definitely remember, like, it's seared into my memory, me constantly watching this and rewinding this. And it's funny because I didn't so much love this film as a kid, and I don't so much love it now. It's really more so the Hex Girls and the voice cast that I think really sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, speaking of the voice cast, by the way, did you pick up on who Ravencroft was?
I didn't at the time, and the voice, like, a lot of the voices felt very iconic in a strange way, but I just couldn't pinpoint where.
Tim Curry.
Oh, right. No, that was the name that I was like, oh,
fucking
duh. Right,
Tim
now.
Curry.
Yeah.
And it was so fascinating because at first you could kind of vaguely hear it, but if you didn't know, it might slip past you. Then at the end, when he's just going full warlock, and he's just like, "Hey, fuck all of you," and I'm just like, "Yep, that's Tim Curry."
Yeah. Screw my writing career. I'm going to enslave all of you and burn this place to the ground.
And everyone's like, "Is that Tim Curry?" He sounds like Tim Curry, doesn't he? He's just like, "Take me seriously." And they're just like, "You're acting like Jafar from Aladdin." No. Didn't that scene very much feel like when Jafar got the powers of a genie?
Huh. Yeah, now that you mention it.
Like, something about it, I was like, why does this seem familiar? And out of nowhere, I was like, oh, he's literally, like, putting people in stuff. Like, literally, he could have just turned one of them into, like, a monkey or into, like, a... Didn't it's been a long time, Jafar turn Abu into, like, a little, like, the monkey with symbols, or no? I could swear he turned him into a monkey toy, or am I wrong?
Oh, maybe. It's been a very long time since I've seen Aladdin.
All right, so next podcast we got to watch some Aladdin.
Well, sure. Now, if we were talking King of Thieves, the third one, well, I don't know why I specifically had an obsession with the third one. But...
Well, we can't get into it right now, but that was a fucking good one. That's why.
Right.
I also had an obsession with that one. I watched that one at some points more than I did the original, even though I love the original. Point is, though, is that when it comes to the voiceover cast, there were some replacements, like Billy West as Shaggy didn't come back. So they actually got Scott Innes, who I believe has voiced him a fair amount since then, and he's the one that sounds familiar to us, even more so than Billy West as Shaggy.
Right.
Also, he was Scooby as well. Yes, because he came in, Scott Innes, he was not only in Witch's Ghost, but he also was in Alien Invaders, Cyber Chase. He also played, wait a minute, hold on. Oh my god, in the live action version, I guess this might have been like a little bit of a nod. He played Scrappy-Doo.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that or hearing that, or we talked about that at one point.
Yes. He was in some Scooby-Doo stuff from there, but nothing major. Like he was in a DVD short as Shaggy in Scooby-Doo and the Toon Tour of Mysteries. And I'm like, you wouldn't know what the fuck that is.
Nope.
Exactly. But yeah, so he came back. Frank Welker came back as Fred. Mary Kay Bergman, sadly, this was her last role as Daphne, sadly, before her passing. BJ Ward was Velma, I believe, again, because she was Velma in the last one, if I remember correctly. And also, and I say last one because, yes, even though this is a film that is not necessarily a sequel to Zombie Island, you were telling me, Tristan, and I noticed at least one or two, there were a few nods and references to it. It's still part of a larger Scooby-verse.
Yeah,
The Scooby universe of films.
There's a small nod in the if in Ravencroft's flashback of saying, "Oh, I paid you all to get you here." You see in the newspaper clippings the moat monster mystery solved by Mystery Inc. And it's literally the opening mystery they're solving from Zombie Island.
Also, they were clearly
it's just a nod to their past adventures, basically.
But like the one that was so recent that it's like, well, clearly you've seen this one. It was literally the year prior. Like for us, it was released literally a year and a month prior. Right. Because this is when Scooby-Doo movies started becoming yearly, and I do think that the quality definitely showed that, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But when it comes to some of the nods you were referencing, also just a general joke, running joke of Scooby-Doo not realizing he's a dog. Right, and the one that I thought was most interesting was Fred, of course, being understandably so, being interested in the Hex Girls, but then him saying, Daphne, I want to talk to you about something. It was very much building off of Zombie Island, I feel. They're not letting that go. I found that very interesting. Even though it was a new creative team for the most part working on this, it's interesting that they weren't trying to let that go completely. Also, same animation staff as well, at least same animation company as well. So it retained that quality as well. It's very interesting that, it's not a direct sequel at all, but it very much felt like you could watch this after Zombie Island and feel like they are companion pieces.
Yeah.
One being much stronger than the other.
Yeah.
But companion pieces nonetheless. Now, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was kind of a bummer. I still like this movie and it's still fun. But apparently the Hex Girls hold it up a lot more than the movie itself. As just a movie on its own, I felt like Zombie Island is better paced and feels like an actual movie on its own, not just being a Scooby-Doo piece, whereas this one is much more of formulaic Scooby-Doo animated movie piece.
And here's why. So we talked about the production a bit more when we actually talked about Zombie Island during Halloween in July, something that we do every year, every July. But when we talked about the film, we were mentioning that it was meant to be a feature-length picture, but it didn't. So they, Warner Brothers decided, let's actually pull it and just put it on VHS. And at the time, it was a $20 VHS tape. I assume this followed suit. So being a $20 VHS tape, it sold very well. And of course, they could also put it in prime time on Cartoon Network, which I remember seeing it there as well. So when you look at something like that, it just it makes a lot of sense that the quality was there in many different respects. Whereas this one, it was a bit shorter. Also, because the first one was kind of, in a way, reintroducing us to the cast years later. This is very much like a sequel in that it already solidifies, hey, listen, you've seen them in some form or another. They're not getting the gang back together. The gang is back together. So here is their next adventure. And I do think that being a bit shorter did hurt it. And also just because, it's not a problem that they were focusing on a small town, but when you look at when they were focusing on the mansion, they really let the characters shine and really tried to, characters that weren't just the main gang, and you really tried to get to know who these were and try to see if there's a whodunit aspect. In this case, even though that still is there, the whodunit part of it, of course it's Scooby-Doo, but you're not really trying to see who did do it. They're just kind of telling you it's this person. And then, of course, the twist being, no, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that is one piece that I'll give it credit for. The twist of Ravencroft being the actual bad guy. And also the ghost is real again in this one.
That's what I didn't like, both as a kid and now. We already had that, so it feels like you're just doing it again. With it being a year apart, it also just feels like a rehash. And I know you didn't like it when the live action movies did it. It felt like it was just it happening again. Like it's kind of setting up that it's going to keep on happening. And by the way, not as if, there weren't animated series before this where Scooby-Doo met monsters and shit, because that happened. But but having it be standalone films, it felt very much like it was just kind of rehashing that. Not so much the twist in that Ravencroft was the villain. That was pretty cool. Just kind of looking at this guy who is like, oh, clearly he's like Stephen King, but like, it's not like Stephen King's a bad guy. Turns out he's a fucking warlock, actually. Yeah. You got to be careful about that Stephen King. Got to really be careful. But it was just really funny. Like, it just hit me. Watching it again, I was texting you, and I was just like, yup, this guy's a fucking liar.
Yeah, it's funny. I did, like, when I was 7, when this came out, I did not pick up on him at all. But, like, rewatching it now, from the first moment that they meet him, just the smile on his face is a little too much. I mean, maybe that's just because I'm a jaded adult at this point, but, like, I don't know. There's something about him. I'm like, yeah, Ben, you're coming on a little strong there.
No, yeah, I mean, even the line when they say, sorry, Ben, we didn't find anything we didn't find her body. And he goes, but what about a book? And you're like,
oh,
wow.
Yeah. Well, because even Daphne,
what's wrong with you?
Yeah, even Daphne leans into Fred like, that's weird, right? That's not normal human behavior. And Fred's like, the fuck if I know, Daphne? We're in an animated movie.
Yep, that's exactly what he said. The fuck if I know, Daphne. Apparently, we had the uncut, unrated version of the film.
Obviously. Only the best. Only quality here.
Of course. But no, what I find interesting, so what do you... I normally think that the voice acting, especially with the first film, that it was extremely strong. In this case, first film meaning Zombie Island. In this case, not that I didn't think it was strong, but there were some weak points. And one of them I noticed, and I'm curious if you noticed it as well, was the character of Ben. It was Tim Curry, who is a fantastic actor. His performance at times seemed a little bit weak, and I'm wondering if that was due to like the fact that it was such a small window of time. They made the film, they recorded the dialogue and everything. Did you feel the same way or no?
I mean, I feel like he's better at it when he's, letting down the guise of being, the nice bookworm. But like, I don't know. I felt like he played it off pretty well. Like, he does have this awkwardness to him as just being Ben Ravencroft, but then, once he gets what he's really after, he's like, oh, I don't have to pretend to be anything other than what I am, and I'm an asshole. Fuck all of you.
I was wondering if that was the case too, so I'm happy you brought that up, but there was something that, like, just the way he was speaking early on sounded like each and every line was, like, taken from, like a CD-ROM game. Does that make any sense? Like, it was all separate from each other.
Oh,
it was
yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, early on. As the movie went on, it felt like he either grew into it or, again, like you said, he's kind of shedding the facade. But early on, it felt like it was just like, hello, Scooby Gang. I am Person. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, you're Ben Ravencroft. Why, I am Velma.
How do you know my name? I know all of you.
I know all of your names. You three over here, and the two fucking dumbasses over here behind me. Of course I remember you. And they're like, Rumass is rare. Oh, I love that Ravencroft doesn't fucking understand anything that Scooby is saying. Finally acknowledging that Scooby does speak.
Oh, yeah. No, I love that. Rocks! Rocks? No, it's a box! How the fuck would any of you get that?
That's actually really funny, too. The fact that, like, Velma's like, oh my god, that's so silly, Ben. He's like, I want to fucking kill all the mortals.
Velma, I thought I might actually leave you alive, but on second thought...
it was such a strange... Like, I enjoy, again, the twist that he's the bad guy, but it led to, especially, maybe like, I don't know if you noticed this when you were younger. This is the one thing I will say that I noticed when I was younger. And I'm not trying to like put on a monocle or anything. Just kind of swirl a glass of Capri Sun, like, oh yes. But like when I was younger, I noticed that like 30 minutes into the movie is when we get the twist. That's pretty early to get that twist, to then have them fight with like all of these giant magical creatures for like almost half the runtime.
Yeah.
It was literally 30 minutes in when Ravencroft pulls out the book and he goes, "Oh, thank God, I don't have to be nice to any of you anymore."
Right. I can slaughter you all, finally.
Literally, that was 30 minutes in. I checked.
Right. I think that's the funny part. When I was a kid, I was like, wait a minute. Because when they actually capture the ghost with Mr. McKnight, I'm like, wait, huh? They caught him. I'm like, there's still half a movie left. What's going on?
Yeah, right?
They caught the guy, and then the fact that like the whole town was in on it, which is, it's funny. It's almost kind of a putting them in a awkward position. It's like, all right, on one hand, yes, we were assholes for, dragging your ancestors' name through the mud, but on the other hand, Ben, the entire town would have gone out of business and people would have been homeless and starving if we hadn't had the tourism come back up. So you tell me what's worse, Ben,
What I find funny is when Ben, this huge warlock that we're all supposed to eventually fear, is like, what? A conspiracy? And the mayor's just like, you ever heard of Watergate, Ben? Conspiracies can happen sometimes, Ben. Like, it was just really funny that, like, because I assumed that the mayor was in on it, but I didn't realize how many people in the town would be in on it. Even in this rewatch, I had forgotten. So when it's like, yeah, and all of you too, get the fuck out here. I'm like, wait, what? And then it's just like a bunch of prominent townsfolk that are just like, listen, all right, I know it might seem like we did something wrong, but the mayor is on our side, so really the law is in our favor. So, Ben, what are you gonna do about it?
You can't sue us all. Not with that attitude. Holds up the book.
Ben's like, you're absolutely right. I will not sue any of you. Yay!
Oh, thank
Picks up
God.
the book. Aw.
Oh. I will, however, burn your corpses.
So, like, it was an interesting, like, it was fascinating, and I probably should have realized that it was Ben, even in the rewatch, if I hadn't already. When you have that moment in the rewatch where, even putting the whole, oh, was the book there thing aside, the fact that they're just like, listen, Ben, we're sorry, and Ben isn't like, I know it's Scooby-Doo, but like, you would think that when someone uses your ancestor who you've been fighting to say is actually a good person and not this evil witch, and turns out that it was all some huge conspiracy just to make money, you would be fuming. And yet
you'd think you'd be even more pissed.
And yet he was still in town.
Yeah.
And like you said, you're sitting there at 7 years old and you're like, wait, there's more to this movie. And I remember doing the exact same thing. I was like, hold on, there's more going on here. And then the Hex Girls appear and I'm like, I'm okay. Are we just going to have a Hex Girl 30-minute concert? Oh no. Oh well.
I mean, are you saying that you wouldn't be okay with that? Because I would be.
Shut the fuck up. You shut the fuck up, Tristan. You never put words in my mouth, god damn it. I love you. Funny,
wow, okay.
Funny, I love you, Tristan.
Are you sure you're not just stuck on Thorn, Fred?
I'm trying to think of the most appropriate thing to say. Like, how do I say something? Look, what I was trying to say, all right, before you cut me off, and so what I was trying to say is that I remember when we actually first met, not like it was immediately, but like within like a few months, I'm pretty sure we were reminiscing on Scooby-Doo. And hilariously enough, as much as we even then said, oh yeah, no, we really like Zombie Island, when we were talking about this film and the Hex Girls, like, this isn't even some like, haha, they're hot. Like, no, just as a 7-year-old, especially in the year 1999, even though we're not in the sticks or anything, like, we're in New York, but still, seeing someone that looked like all three of them, and then them calling themselves eco-goth. And yeah. it was like, it literally was mind-blowing to me, though. Like, all jokes aside, it really was mind-blowing to see the Hex Girls at that time. And there's a reason why people today still cosplay them. People today still talk about them. Because at the time, if we were in our 20s then, or now 30. We would have known people who are goth, obviously, right?
Yeah,
it's
right.
not like there's like nobody, but like we're 7 years old, and for me, I'm in a Catholic school at the time.
Right.
So again, the whole concept is foreign to me.
Yeah.
That someone would dress like that, have hair like that, play in a band like that, especially a strong women-led band as well. So it was actually like I really do want to point out the fact that like, and we'll talk about their voice actors in a second, but even just as characters, like yes, they made me go, oh, I like girls, but also they did.
Yeah. No, I get it.
But also they were really powerful characters that I think was actually, it was such a nice red herring that they were supposed to be like the evil witches and then they just weren't.
Right.
Because
I
really,
love how they even like say at one point they're like, that's just our shtick for the band. Like, holy shit, calm down.
Which is funny. I believe as a kid I discovered something about myself because I was like, oh, they're not really witches, and it was just like I look back at myself and I'm just like, we're gonna figure that out later, bud.
You fool.
No. We're gonna talk about why you at 7 years old when you discover that it was all fake and that they weren't actually witches. Oh no, they don't actually have fangs, and I was distressed. We're gonna talk about that later, bud. We're gonna process all of that. But no, yeah, like you said, they said it was part of their shtick, and I think just having these characters exist, not be evil. Yes, they blurred the whole Wiccan thing. Oh, Wiccan and witches, they fucked that up.
Yeah.
But
for the purposes of an animated Scooby-Doo movie, so
yeah, right,
not saying it's right, but like Oh no,
yeah.
It was more of like big surprise.
It's funny though, right? Because yes, Scooby-Doo, OG Scooby-Doo, like 1960s, they definitely did some shit. I've been rewatching it on HBO Max, and I'm just like, oh no, every now and again. But even looking at some of these movies, it is these newer ones quote unquote, these ones after Witch's Ghost. We were just talking about some of them. You have them like Monster of Mexico, the Loch Ness Monster, Aloha Scooby-Doo, Where's My Mummy? I gotta read some more that make you go, oh no. And this one was in 2009, I'm about to mention. Scooby-Doo and the Samurai Sword.
Oh, right.
That has me worried. That has me fucking worried as shit. So yeah, it's I don't know if we're ever gonna get to those, but what I will say is that yes, you're right. Them misusing some part of a culture, no way. For Scooby-Doo, no way.
I can't believe it's not misused.
Exactly. But
Pulls
I will
the tub out of the fridge.
Exactly. But what I will say though is despite that, when it came to these three characters, it's fascinating to see them not actually be the bad guys, but to be the good guys. And I think that really, shifts the conversation when you're that age.
Right.
Not that my family would have said that they were evil and they were, brujas or anything like that. Like,
right.
That wouldn't have happened necessarily. No. But at the same time, though, like, yeah, I'm sure that happened across the U.S. at the time. I'm sure that would happen across the U.S. if this was released today.
Today, exactly, yeah. And I feel like it kind of, like, being older now and watching the movie and looking at this, seeing as how they're from a small New England town, like, it's supposed... playing off the idea of Salem, I guess, but, like...
Yes, very much
a young band that is trying to break out of their small hometown. Like, granted, the town is using ghosts to drum up tourism, too, so, like, having the Hex Girls play makes sense, but I feel like they definitely, like, tried to go down to the city or something and got a following somewhere else other than their hometown before they're like, hey, girls, do you want to play at Autumn Fest? And they're like, well, we don't have anything else lined up. Sure, why not?
It definitely does feel a little bit like that, where it's just like, hey, so remember when you ran us out of town? We do. Anyway, could you come back? We need some money. We're hard up for cash. So, no, yeah, it very much felt like the way you look, the way some small towns can be, especially with all-female gothic rock bands. I'm reading that right off Wikipedia. The Hex Girls. Yeah. Yeah, no, I will admit, looking back on it, I'm like, wow, they let them play there. And even the mayor being like, teen love. And didn't try to, like, tear, even though he didn't know that it's fucking Shaggy and Scooby, but tear two teenagers apart. Like, how dare you in this town? No, just like, teen love. And then he walks away.
Public display of affection. How dare you?
At that time of night.
Right. I just love that. Yeah, I guess that would be more of what I figured he'd be like. It's like, you two should get home. It's rather late out. But just the fact of Shaggy and Scooby, like, looking up and then looking over at the mayor, just their faces, that freeze frame, I don't know why, but I laughed so hard as a kid.
What I found funny was when you ended up having Ravencroft be like, oh, my treat. You two can eat over at John's, my treat.
Oh, right.
And Daphne's just like, wow.
You're gonna regret that.
You fucked up harder than you will ever fuck up in this movie. And Ravencroft is like, bet?
Yeah. Or just the look on his face, like, why?
At first I felt bad for him. Now I'm just like, good.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you know what I think is really funny? How the writers came to a conclusion that I do believe was the right one. In that they're sitting back and they're like, how do you judge this man via human law? You can't. So let's murder him. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I would have went that far, but you can't put him in jail after everything he did. And if you tried to have a cop explain, like Bo from Zombie Island, that would be a complete rehash. So how do you judge him via human law when he was just a warlock?
Right, when he just had supernatural magic powers.
Yes. How do you do that? And so it's just kind of funny that they did the traditional trope of, no, it's fine, bad guy die. But we don't show how die, because we can't. But he die,
I mean, I don't necessarily think he's dead. He's just imprisoned in, like, his soul's imprisoned in the book.
And then the book went on fire.
Yeah, well, true.
The book went on fire.
Which, fucking Velma's last line was... Well, it looks like Ben Ravencroft's last book is one the world will never buy.
I swear to God, I was a kid at the time and I even knew. I was like, ooh.
I just wanted Daphne to turn over and be like, holy shit, Velma.
Like, it's really funny. Like, she said that, like, in their office. She was like, I love you. He was like, I love you too. There was, like, deception there. Like, she said that, in my opinion, there was malice there. I'm like, what's going on?
100%.
Like, what's going on there, Velma?
This is why you don't screw around with Velma. She will fucking burn you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she's just staring at him. The flames are reflected in her glasses.
You just hear his, like, dissonant scream, like, no. And
that would have made a good end to a book I was writing. And then he dies. So, and if he didn't die, right? I smell a buddy comedy. Ravencroft and the Witch's Ghost.
Oh my God.
He's her descendant. Really shitty. She's not... Wait, she's his ancestor. There we go.
Yeah.
She's his ancestor. Just as shitty. It's Ravencroft and the Witch's Ghost. Ba-da-ba.
Oh, God. I could just imagine that just interrogating something. Just interrogating somebody and her going, does this mortal protest? And Ravencroft walks in. He's like, all right, hang on. Let me handle this one.
Does this mortal protest? Laugh track, huge.
Slams like a few hundreds on the tables. Look, we need a confession now. So it's either you take the bribe, or I seal your soul away into this immortal book.
I love how much of a dick he was after she was released. Because he shifts between literally saying, I thought we were going to work together. In fact, doesn't it feel like you owe me? And she's just like, I will rip you apart piece by piece and put you back together wrong. Do you understand how...
Oh my God.
Kind of like Bill from Gravity Falls.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, it's just... like, it was just kind of funny in a way where he's just like, we're working together to rule the world. In fact, actually, you really should be serving me. And
I saved like, you should serve me.
And she's just like, okay, Ben, is it? Cool. I have powers. You have a book. Do you see how bad that is for you? Because she has powers outside the book.
Oh, yeah, so, exactly.
You done fucked up, Ben.
Which is interesting that they made, like, the witch's powers, or even his powers, like, he just unlocks God mode. Like, I get, like, being able to cast fire and, like, do stuff like that, and even with, like, the bringing the pumpkins to life and stuff like that, but, like, oh, there was something else.
The dude was crouching on the roof like an anime character with the moon behind him.
Right, and doing fucking backflips, and, like, immediately his sight becomes better, too. He just throws his glasses away. Like, I don't need these anymore. I have 20/20 vision now.
I don't know why. Maybe another Scooby-Doo episode did this, but when he said, oh, I can't see without my glasses, for some reason I thought he was lying, and that would end up leading them to be like, you're a liar, you can see without them. And he's like, you're right, I've been pretending to be somebody else. Anyway, Warlock time. I don't know why I thought that was the case. Right. It wasn't, obviously. But for some reason, it like clicked to me like, he's lying about those glasses. And then he just wasn't. He's like, you know what? I'm a liar about plenty of things, but also my sight, it isn't what it used to be. Like, it's just kind of funny. So, by the way, we were talking about the mayor's voice earlier, played by Neil Ross. So before we get to what you were going to say, I just want to mention that you might know him from a few things. He was in, I don't know if you had originally seen the Batman the Animated Series and the Spider-Man animated series. Also, he was in he was in a bunch of different animated stuff. He was in the original Transformers. Actually, I'm sorry, he wasn't in Spider-Man the Animated Series. He was in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, if you remember that, with, like, Iceman.
Huh. I don't think I do.
Damn, because I do remember that, actually. We rented a VHS tape, also from Blockbuster, and I remember watching one of those, like, over and over again. He's been in... It's weird, though, because... So he was in animated series, Batman. He was Dealer, Ratso, and Jake. And I hear those names, and I'm like, doesn't ring a bell. But the mayor's voice is just one of those voices. He was in G.I. Joe as well. He's just a voice that really, really rings a bell. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Oh, maybe it's because he's been in some other Scooby-Doo movies. So he was in Alien Invaders. He played Sergio. He also was in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, just credited as Cyclops. So maybe we heard him through one of those. Oh, video games as well. Oh, he was in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. He played Mayor Domino.
Oh, okay. Shit, yeah. All right. Huh.
Yeah, okay. I was like, that's going to get you. I know you played that one.
Yeah. No, like you said, he's a voice. Like, I've definitely heard his voice in various other animated series in passing.
And I say this with respect. He was in Spyro, just the series. He was Moneybags.
Oh, shit. All right, yeah. That's where I know him from.
Yeah, he was in... it only lists on Wikipedia that he was in Year of the Dragon and Enter the Dragonfly as Moneybags.
Yeah, because I don't think...
The first two did not have...
Yeah, I don't think the first two had Moneybags.
Oh, and you...
I could be wrong.
Oh, my God. You have heard this man in so much... He was in Rogue Squadron as Han Solo.
Oh, my God.
And the narrator, General Relkan?
General
Riken. Moff Cole Seardon, and the narrator.
Right. Oh, holy shit. Okay,
he was in Rebellion as also Han Solo, Stormtrooper, Imperial Commander, Center Communications Officer.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, he's been Han Solo in other stuff as well, like Force Commander. He was also additional voices in Knights of the Old Republic. How many fucking animated stuff are you and I going to do that it turns out that someone randomly was in multiple Star Wars games? It's going to have to keep on happening, I guess, right? It's fascinating. But no, so yes, I can definitely see why I I've heard his name before. Also, I want to go over the voice actresses for the Hex Girls, which you were telling me off recording that they never got full names. They just got their stage names, which I even barely remembered because of how they weren't featured as much within the film. It's Dusk and Luna, and then of course the quote-unquote main Hex Girl, who actually has powers, was Sally McKnight, also known as
Thorn.
Thank you. So anyway, so point is that she was actually, you probably know her voice from a lot of different stuff. You want to know how I know that? Because her filmography is a separate Wikipedia page.
Oh wow, okay.
That's how you know. You're like, okay. She was in Dexter's Lab. She was in Powerpuff Girls. She was in Batman Beyond. The issue is, like with a lot of, like with some other people we've talked about in the past, voice actor wise, you probably are like, oh, she was in this show. Who did she play? And in Powerpuff Girls' case, she was Miss Keen, Princess Morbucks, and Sedusa. Which Sedusa I remember.
Yeah.
But the other two, I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, I think I vaguely remember.
Dexter's Lab, she was Miss Pimmerwickle, Record, and Southern Belle. And I'm just like, I don't remember.
Yeah, those are like one-offs.
Exactly.
What about in Batman Beyond?
She was Jessie. Is that an important character?
I
there you go.
Don't remember.
There you go.
She could have been.
In an episode called Hooked Up.
Oh,
Exactly. You see? The brain is like turning.
Yeah.
Did you watch Rocket Power back in the day? I did not.
I did, yeah.
I watched very little. She was Paula Dullard.
It doesn't ring
and there
a bell
we go.
Either.
She was Billy's mom in Billy and Mandy.
Oh no.
She was also various characters in Samurai Jack. She was number 86 in Kids Next Door.
Oh shit, nice.
Yes. So again, you'll see more and more stuff as it goes on. She was in Shaolin Showdown, Catnap. It's been a very long time since I've watched Shaolin Showdown. She was Avatar Kyoshi.
Yo,
I know, right?
Anthony would lose it right now.
Yes, exactly. Fellow host and longtime friend of both of us. She was in. Oh my God, this is gonna get you though. She was in Clone Wars. She was Ayla Sakura.
She plays Ayla Sakura. Oh wow.
Yeah, you know how to pronounce names.
Yes.
Rio Chuchi. And Lolo
that
Purz.
Wow. Oh, that was one of the senator. Yeah.
Now you know one-off characters.
Well, it's Clone Wars. I've seen that more times than I care to do. No, actually, how many times has it been? Let me think.
Okay, well, you're going to do that, and I'm going to ask if you've seen Brave and the Bold, Batman.
Maybe an episode or two. I enjoyed what I saw, but...
Oh, she was Becky in The Batman.
Oh, well, I watched that one, but I don't recall
The Big
it.
Dummy.
Yeah, don't. That was probably another one-off.
But either way, when it comes to her, obviously, you can just keep on going. Then when it comes to Jane Wadelin, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She was Dusk, and she ended up. Let's see here. She actually is a musician. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. She was in. Sorry to interrupt, but she was in just a few things. She was in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. But like the live action, interesting. She played Joan of Arc. Have you still not seen that movie?
I have not.
It's so fucking funny. I only watched it fairly recently, in the last few years, and outside of like one line that I was like, "Oh no, that's not good." The rest of the movie is fucking fantastic. It's just two dudes who are just like really, really, really stupid, but they care about each other. And it's just, that's literally what it is. It's just a story of two friends who just love each other.
Talking to me about it.
Yes, but they're so fucking stupid.
Right.
But yeah, so, that's interesting. But yeah, so she played Dusk. And then when we look at Kimberly Brooks, who played Luna, she was actually in Psychonauts 2. Oh, she was Mimi in Dexter's Laboratory. Oh my god, she was Jasper in Steven Universe. Holy shit. Alright, so she's fucking awesome. She was Barbara Gordon in the Arkham video games. Batman Arkham. She was, wow, okay. Oh my god, she was Buena Girl from Mucha Lucha.
Oh, huh.
Oh, you would know her as Shinobu Jacobs in No More Heroes.
Oh, shit.
Yes. That was Dusk.
Oh, that's
sorry, that was Luna.
Yeah. Nice.
So, looking at the sheer number of roles they've done, you can just tell, like, okay, this is why, Tress, looking at Jennifer Hale, Jane Weidlin, and Kimberly Brooks, you can see why, not just the, the way these characters looked, but even just vocally, voice-wise, they really helped carry this movie, I think, and felt like they were just really themselves. Like, none of the three felt out of place.
Right.
The only person that I truly think felt just a little bit out of place early on was Curry as Ravencroft, and I don't know if that was purposefully or not at this point, because you brought up a great point.
Right.
So, I think everybody else played their part perfectly. It's just that they were definitely not trying at all to have any characters have much depth, I feel.
Yeah, much more depth to them than the piece they needed to play.
Or even the town.
Yeah.
Like, you could have just picked any setting. Like, it could have been any other setting.
I do have to admit, I did like the artwork for them driving into the town at the beginning with the leaves changing color and, like, the stone bridges over waterways and stuff like that. It's very visually appealing.
100% visually appealing, yes. No, the Mappa did very well again, like they did last time. Let me make sure I'm getting the right name of the studio. It should be, it's Mook Animation. Who the fuck is Mappa? Anyway, now I'm thinking I picked up a studio we were talking about the animated Star Wars show, Visions. Now I'm wondering if I picked up an animation studio in my head that I can't kick. But no, Mook Animation are the ones that did not only this movie, but like I mentioned earlier, a few other Scooby-Doo movies. They also did SWAT Cats, if you remember Tristan gushing about SWAT Cats.
Yeah.
The last time we talked about Scooby-Doo. And I do want to talk about the change in writing staff, though. But before I do, anything you want to mention about the movie that sticks out, good or bad?
It's funny. We got we actually got two songs from the Hex Girls. Like, one was in the middle, was nice. But we didn't have, like we did in Zombie Island with Skysicle, I believe it was.
Yes, you're correct.
Like, the chase scene montages with a nice musical piece. I feel like that probably would have helped this a lot more. But then again, the monster chase scenes in this were so much shorter that you probably wouldn't have been able to put it to. I mean, I feel like you could have worked it in there. Like, the witch could have chased them around. Like, the witch on the cherry picker could have chased them around a bit more.
So my brain is a little bit fried because the artist that sang the Scooby-Doo Where Are You in the beginning was Billy Ray Cyrus. I would not have expected that.
What?
I know. I would not have expected that shit.
That's funny.
Huh. Well, all right.
Shit.
Yep. Also, by the way, so just a little bit, because you mentioned the soundtrack, to coincide with the release of Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, Warner Brothers decided to release the album Scooby-Doo's Snack Tracks, the Ultimate Collection. And it went on to peak at number 5 on the Billboard's Kids albums. And it stayed there in the top 25 for over 26 weeks.
Sounds about right.
And so because of that, Warner Brothers was like, wow, we enjoy money. Let's put out a full-length soundtrack for Witch's Ghost, which they did. And that's how we know that Scooby-Doo Where Are You was sung by Billy Ray Cyrus. Ghost Story at the end was sung by Louis Febre. And then the Hex Girls, they were just credited as the Hex Girls for some reason. For the, Hex Girl, Earth, Wind, Fire, and Air. That's a funny line. The Witch's Ghost, It's a Mystery, Scooby Snacks, Zoinks, and Those Medlin Kids are all tracks that they... Now I gotta go track this down. Tristan, you don't have it, do you? You're gonna go on eBay right now?
I don't have it. But let me know if you find it.
All right, I'll send you a link after the episode. And then The Ghost Is Here. Terror Time was also on this, probably because they wanted to have a hook, like, oh, you didn't just get it separately, did you? You want to have Terror Time again? So that'd be nice. You can have
Right.
Terror Time on this album instead of the ultimate collection of the snack tracks. And an instrumental mix also of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? But yes, so when it came to the production...
sorry.
sorry.
One last thing before
Please
you go. The last song, Earth, Wind, and Fire...
Earth, Wind,
or
Fire, and
is... I know, that was the... I knew I was going to do that. I'm like, no, that's the actual band.
Yes.
I really kind of love the fact that it was interesting how they had an environmental like message to it. I mean, them like they state earlier on in the movie, like, oh, we're eco goth, so like it makes sense.
That's why they do. But it was fascinating because, again, that's also something that I mentioned earlier. I never, like, when I was really, really young, I never knew someone who was goth. And then knowing them also to be, like, environmental goths. It's interesting to show, like, not so much that goth and punk are the same, but, like, there is this concept of, like, oh, punk, apathy.
There are ties, or there are commonalities.
Yeah, but, like, the idea of, oh, it's apathy. It's lack of interest. It's sadness. And it's like, no. It's being for something. Whatever that something is wherever whatever you believe or whatever your main, be it political or be it social or whatever issue it is, that is how you are punk. Or, if you're goth, yes, you're goth, but again, doesn't mean that you're like sad all the time. I feel like it's something that you don't really have to fucking explain today, but I swear to God, if anyone is of a certain age going, why are they explaining this? Because at 30 years old, and at Tristan at being a young, spry 29-year-old,
for another like 2 weeks or something.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, no, maybe a few days depending on when this comes out.
God.
But yeah, a few weeks. We were growing up at a time where like that's how being goth and punk were described as.
Very cookie cutter.
Yeah. They're goth. They're just sad. They don't really care about stuff. And
right. Like, it was just another stereotype at that point. It's
exactly.
Like,
And so to see these characters actually have a social issue is also, again, mind-blowing to someone my age at the time. But you were going to continue about it.
It's all like, it does actually kind of run through the themes of the movie. Like they do end up like bulldozing down and like building that set piece or timepiece like Puritan village to bring tourism to the town, when it is really just a nice wooded New England town that you could really just have a vacation and just to get away from everything and have peace and quiet.
No, it kind of gets lost when Ravencroft is like, actually, I'm a warlock, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
It kind of gets lost in a way because, I mean, yes, it's the townsfolk did have a reason for doing what they were doing in the sense that, like, making a fake ghost, I mean, arguably that's fraud, but, like, I don't care as much making the fake ghost because no one died.
Right, and even the witch's power being, it seemingly takes life from things or animates them into something horrific and not what they're truly meant to be.
Yes, but it kind of still gets lost, the theme when halfway through your movie, like literally in your hour-long movie. It was only an hour and 6 minutes. So in 30 minutes, basically only a 30-minute special of who is the ghost that's not really a ghost, it then turns into just another half an hour of them trying to escape. It's funny when you said that the running from monsters was shorter, because in a way it was when it came to the first, running away from monsters, and then the other quote-unquote fake, the witch's ghost. But once it came to the real ghost, they were like, what if we just do a full-on 30-minute... Like, It was absurd how much Shaggy and Scooby, like, their cardio is absurd.
Yeah.
They ran from a giant turkey that, by the way, still stayed a giant turkey even when they...
Yeah, the magic didn't wear off of that. I mean, that's going to be their new attraction to their, little New England village, is just a giant monster turkey.
We should care about the environment. That's true. And you know what's not part of the environment, Ben?
The giant monster turkey.
Animals. Not part of the environment at all, Ben. Let's
try
not the turkey.
We're gonna make money off of this one, and not in the way you think. No, we're not gonna cook it. No, we're not gonna eat it. We're gonna have people take pictures with it. It's gonna be great.
I love the implications. Because if you don't know how turkeys are stuffed, you're like, oh, he's going to kill the turkey. That's the joke. And it's like, no, Shaggy just threatened to shove that up his ass.
Right, I wasn't...
as a kid,
I laughed about that in the moment now, but like I did not.
No,
I was
because
like, do I say that?
No, because as a kid, you're like, oh, it's funny because a turkey wouldn't want to get stuffed. He wants to live. Thanksgiving
Right,
turkey,
yeah.
blah blah blah. Now it's just like, he just threatened to shove that giant baster up that turkey's ass, and that turkey said, "No way, Jose, I'm heading out of town." That turkey,
you get out of there.
Turkey was like, "Buy me dinner first, asshole," and left.
Yeah, and then Shaggy would pull out a 6-course Thanksgiving Day meal with, fully roasted turkey, and the turkey looks up and goes, "Am I a fucking joke to you? Is that supposed to be funny?"
Slaps it off the table. Pick it
Yeah.
up now. Eat it now.
Eat it now. Lick it up off the floor. Just picks the knife up off the table. Eat it.
All right, there. This turkey needs to leave town right away. I think we've missed. By the way, imagine.
I think we've lost the point here, Ben. That gag went places, and I don't even know where we are anymore.
Remember, and I haven't seen it, but I have heard that the sequel to Zombie Island is both not good and undercuts the original. So I'm not gonna.
Oh, right.
The sequel to Zombie Island, which does exist, came out in 2019.
Yeah, I forgot they did that.
No spoilers, because I haven't seen it, but I've heard that. Right? Maybe one day we will discuss it, but today's not that day.
No.
Imagine a King Kong sequel to Witch's Ghost with the turkey.
Oh my god.
God, if we could only end it on that, but we can't. We have to.
No, you had something important you wanted to talk about.
I did, Ben. So
thanks, Ben.
The production was, and I do think it showed after watching this movie, at least as an adult. When you looked at the first movie, they genuinely were not hands-on with it. Executives were not hands-on with it because they looked at it as a one-off project, and they didn't have their hands in the pot, and that's why you had scenes where you have fucking Jacques just transforming in a way that even as an adult I was like, ooh, right, yeah. Now, because of how well, yes, because of how well the movie did, executives were like, actually, could I just please have a moment? And there was more meddling in this one.
Yeah.
And so now all of a sudden,
I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling executives.
We hate being called that.
And you're talking mouthpiece.
And so that's, yes.
Mouthpiece? Where?
Right. And who's the mouthpiece? Standards and practices. So, apparently, legit, their creative freedom was scaled back and they were told to not make it as scary, which makes a hell of a lot of sense when you see how the movie played out.
Yeah. This is a children's movie, damn it.
Which the first one was totally still a children's movie, damn it, but it was just a little bit scary.
Right. Which
was
fine.
There's no blood. I mean,
no.
Don't get me wrong. I totally get if they were like, hey, if we have zombies again, maybe don't have their fucking heads fall off.
Maybe don't have Fred pop that motherfucker's head off.
That I get. But generally, though, like, the whole point is that it was a little scary. Like, that's kind of what Scooby-Doo could become. Not that it always was, but you know what? I mean, I'm sure for kids at the time watching Scooby-Doo back in the 60s, maybe that was a little scary to them.
Oh, yeah. No, and that's funny, because there were definitely, there were sillier episodes of, the original Scooby-Doo, but there were also some pretty creepy ones, too.
If you're, again, at the time, when you are 7.
Yeah, exactly, at the time.
Yeah. But
I mean, even still, like the fucking skeleton astronaut ghost.
That one freaks you out?
That thing's laugh still fucking creeps me out.
Actually, I'll give that one to you. What I love about him is it's funny. Does he creep you out? Not in so much that he looks irradiated, and that terrifies me. Like, he looks like he's filled to the brim with radiation. Like, don't touch me, motherfucker.
You know what? Which monster made me feel about that? It was the one in the haunted diver's suit, and it was just glowing constantly. And I'm like, this motherfucker's irradiated. No, but now that you mention it, the spaceman being irradiated would probably make more sense.
Yes. No, you're right. He also looked irradiated. Very weird irradiated 60s villains that were just like, don't worry, I'm not irradiated. I just put on some radiation paint. Hold on there, Bill.
The tar monster also was really, fucking creepy, too.
Yes. I'll give you that one. I'm giving you 3. Giving you a lot of them. Okay, fine. Scooby-Doo was terrifying. No.
Exactly.
But it was... But no, I just think that, like, I understand them dialing it back. I think they dialed it back a bit too much. And that's why this film felt a bit more bland. One of the reasons, of course, but it felt a bit more bland. Now, they also got, well, it's funny. I'm seeing here that they suggested new screenwriters. And that means that, yes, okay, so they did suggest them, and they were on the project. Rick Kopp and David A. Goodman. And this allegedly insulted the team because they're like, look, we made you money. Now you're going to say you want different writers to come in here. And so, yes, the studio requested that. And of course, like I mentioned before, toning it down a bit. And not that Kopp and Goodman are bad. Interestingly enough, though, their script, the way it ended originally, was that when they were using it as a publicity stunt, like that was the end. Not that it was only going to be a 30-minute movie, but that was the end. And then the original team was like, actually. And this is when Glenn Leopold comes in, who I mentioned wrote SWAT Cats.
Right.
Different episodes. Was like, okay, but what if we introduce, and I'm just saying, what if the ghost is real? Which was hilarious because Glenn Leopold did the last movie. So literally he's like, the kids loved it last time. What if this time it's real again? All right, Glenn. Settle down there, Glenn.
Right. And I mean, I guess I kind of thought that was just going to be like the movies. I mean, granted, retrospectively, thematically they do that. Whereas the show was always, it's, fake. The monster's fake.
But remember,
the movies were like, it's real this time.
But remember, though, only 2 movies at this point, so there was no precedent to be set.
Exactly, yeah.
So this arguably sets that precedent that Warner Brothers eventually was like, oh my god, let's just, run this into the ground. Like, why are we gonna...
Like everything else.
Yes, why not just, in each and every movie, have the monster be real? And it's funny, I say that while not watching many of the other ones, so maybe they don't become real, but, it's, all the time for every single one of these animated films. But it's just really funny how, that did set up that precedent that, I didn't even consider growing up because we're watching the original Scooby-Doo, constantly shown on Cartoon Network. And outside of that one series that I don't even think you were a big fan of, when Scooby meets all of the ghosts and monsters, but even then, they were, stereotypical, mummy, Dracula, Frankenstein kid kind of monsters that, in this case, introducing, they're werewolves, but not really, a ghost who is a specific person based on this real witch, quote unquote, real witch that died. I didn't see it both times that they were going to be quote unquote real. And, but again, I do think that doing it again, as much as I enjoyed Leopold's work on the first one, I do think that ending it as a publicity stunt, if they had stretched it out into a 1-hour movie, would have actually been good because we could have seen more of the town, seen more of...
I feel like this movie was set up to have a decent amount of subplot, but they didn't have the time to actually have most of it come to the forefront and actually become more of its own plot instead of just being a one-line throwaway type of deal.
That's how I feel as well, and it's really frustrating that it feels like the film suffered because of it. If that truly was the case, I mean, they could have thought about this before they had written any of it. I mean, not written, but before, they could have. It could have been a 40-minute movie or a 30-minute movie, and then they added the extra 30 on. It could have been no, we want to add more because, increase the runtime because you are buying this on VHS, so you want to make it feel like people get something similar to what they had just gotten a year prior. So we don't know at what point of the process, we know that the 2 newer writers on the project had finished the film already, but we don't know anything else about it other than just... Leopold decided, you know what if we rewrite the last 1/3 of the film?
Right.
The last third of the film. So we don't know what that means. We don't have access to that script, but it is interesting that perhaps the characters could have been better fleshed out, and they weren't. Yeah. But as we wrap this up, Rick Kopp actually also ended up writing for Teen Titans as well. So you might, it doesn't say what specific episodes here, but he's also written for that. And also some other live action stuff like the Brady Bunch movie. He was a co-writer on that. And then when it came to David A. Goodman, he has written, let's see here. This is interesting. So he wrote or he produced Stewie Griffin: The Untold Story. He was a writer of Fred the Movie. That's interesting. Remember Fred?
Yeah.
He was also a writer on The Golden Girls. That's interesting. Huh. Oh, he was also on Futurama.
Yeah.
Again, writer.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. So either way, though, yeah, it's just when you look at what this movie became, it's something that I feel like if you experienced it as a kid and you loved it, it was like the best movie ever. Maybe it won't be that upon rewatch.
Yeah.
But I also think, and this really does suck, is that it's not the fault of the movie that it came after Zombie Island. I think without Zombie Island, this film does stand better on its own.
Yeah, true.
It just is really frustrating that it comes out a year later. We also, just a few months ago, had seen Zombie Island again. So I don't usually like to compare, especially because they're not meant to be sequels or related completely. But it just really does, in a way, like, make you think of what had come before it. And it just really hurts it, I think. But as a standalone, I think it does better on its own. As just like a fun little Scooby-Doo romp.
Yeah, like,
you know?
I still enjoyed this movie as a kid, and I still like this movie now.
Me too.
Like, it kind of sucks to see that, like, as a movie itself, it, doesn't hold as much weight as it did, but, like, it's still fun. Like, it's not a bad movie in any case.
No. They get worse.
Oh,
Talking
yeah.
about these Scooby-Doo movies, they get worse. Yeah. They get worse. So I definitely would recommend it. I'll say that much. Even if you've never seen it before, I would definitely recommend it. It's quirky. It's fun. Again, I enjoy the message as well, even if it kind of got a little bit lost towards the end. So still recommended. It's just one of those things where if you're looking for a bit more depth than Scooby-Doo, I would be like, really? But yeah. Zombie Island did provide that, though, funnily enough. So yeah, I still think, though, even though, it was a fun movie to talk about on Halloween, I'll say that much, and watch.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So if you're listening to this, even though it's going to be after the spooky month by the time you listen to this, because the 31st is when I'm releasing it, I still suggest Halloween night or the next day, pop this movie in and check it out.
Or within that week,
Whatever you can do.
It's fine.
Yeah.
The spooks don't ever have to end. The spooks can stay with you in your heart.
Don't do that, because you and I will talk about Scooby-Doo movies all year long.
Exactly.
You want to do that?
Were we not leading up to the Scooby-verse, like, extravaganza? Those guys, goes through the whole Scooby-Doo movie universe till the end of time.
I didn't think you had the fucking time for that. Now that I know you have the time for that, you're completely fucked. You just
I never said I had the time for that. I just said that it would happen somehow.
All right, so we're gonna make that happen someday, somehow.
Oh God. Well,
look at all of our links, the social media links in particular.
We're gonna be in our 80s. We finally put out the last Scooby-Doo movie.
And there's 3 more on the way. I'm gonna die. So anyway, description box down below. You can follow us on all our different accounts for updates on stuff just like that. Because damn it, now that Tristan suggested it, I really want to fucking do it. When and where, you'll find out down below. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you had a happy Halloween and a general happy spooky month. Nonetheless, in general, love you all, take care, and tune in next time. So, see ya.
Well, didn't see that one coming, Ben.
Neither did I, Ben. Oh God, we're gonna go another 30 minutes, aren't we, Ben?
Not this time, Ben.
Thank God, Ben. Good night, Ben.
Good night, Ben.